How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Speak Code. Today we're going to be looking at creating your own IPO table for your program. So I'm carrying on with my meme tournament planner, and so I've made my own IPO table for that meme tournament planner. So usually when you look at an IPO table, it's generally one big table with all your inputs, processes, and outputs. However, though, I've split mine up into just the inputs, just the processes, and just the outputs, so that each thing can be its own event. We don't have to have the inputs, processes, and outputs all linked together. Then another thing you'll see is, just to make it look more aesthetically pleasing, I highlighted each form in a different color. So all the FOM or leaderboard form outputs are in blue, those that are in more than one are in white, and the green is for the submission form, orange for the voting form. So let's start by looking at our inputs. Okay, so now what exactly is an input? Well, an input is any physical data that you're collecting from the user, or it could also be from another form of input, such as a text file or a database. So here you can see I've got inputs for things such as getting the contestants' details, and then also their meme submission. Then also when you log in, I'm getting the username and password. Then also during the running of the program, I'll be getting inputs from the program itself, such as the timer, which will then be the seconds taken for a round. Also from a text file, you can see over here, I will be getting the time taken in previous rounds. From the database, I'm also getting an input. In this case, it's the number of votes that each meme has. And then also from a different text file, I'll be getting the text for the help menu. So over here I've got columns just for the input number, as well as then the form that I'm using. Then I've got the source, and that'll be like for instance, the keyboard. And then in brackets I'm putting the component name. So here I've got a label edit. For instance, here when I click on the mouse button, my component will be a timer. And then I've got the variable that I'm using to capture this input. So here I've got things like sname or iSeconds. And then I've got a form of data validation. So I'm looking for characters, or I'm looking for a certain file path, or I'm looking to see if a file exists. And then I explain this validation through error checking. So for instance, I must loop through and check that there are no spaces or numbers in the name variable, or I must check that the file exists. Okay, and then I've got the use. So this is just a short explanation of exactly what this input is for. And then the data type, such as string, integer, those are your normal data types. And then the format is just what kind of format are you going to use? Are you going to use text? Is it going to be numbers, seconds, dates, all those kinds of things? Okay, then let's move on to our processes. So what exactly is a process? A process is any form of data manipulation that you're doing. Okay, so that can be, for instance, let's say one of your inputs was you then get the age of someone and you get the age of another person, then the processing would be calculating the average for that. Or it could be checking login details or renaming things. So any form of manipulation would fall under processing. So here I just did the same as in the inputs, the process number, then the form, and then I had a little what column just to explain what exactly was happening. And then in my how column, I used pseudocode and sometimes just Delphi code to show what the code would be for that specific process. Okay, so I've got here, for mine, I've got a new participant process where I create a new participant record in the database. Then I've got checking the login details against the admin account. So there I get the username right, and the password that they're inputting, and I must process by checking to see if it equals the actual username and password of the admin. Then here I'm renaming the memes from their old name to a new name that they should be assigned, which would be the same as their meme ID. I've also then in the voting form, I've got one for saving the time taken for each round. So you can see the code for that. Then I've got updating in the database for when each round is over. I must update the number of votes for the memes voted for. Then I've also got calculating the estimated time remaining. So there I just get from the text file, I get the average amount or average length of each round. And that will then be the estimated time remaining once I take that average time per round and multiply it by the remaining rounds. Then my seventh process would be deleting all the records once the tournament is over. So here you can see also the main things in processing that you could add would be your creating a record. In database would be creating a record, reading from your database and then making manipulations on that, editing a database, and even deleting records. Right, let's head to the output. Okay, so for the output, we've got the same as the other two, the form, and then just a little how explaining what's happening. And then I'm including the components that I'm using to output the data, as well as the data type I'm going to output in, and then a format. Then I've also got the size, so that would be the number of characters or the megabyte size. And then I've got an example. Here I've got, for instance, displaying the help. I've got the estimated remaining time, the winner's Instagram handle, displaying things such as ending the tournament successfully or a successful login. You can also add an output for just saying, that they've submitted or signed up successfully. So your main outputs would just be confirmation messages or, warning or error messages as well. For the format, I did things such as text in the sentence case, explaining where you would use a hashtag 13 for a new line, maybe the text and time using minutes and seconds. Here I've got just the winner and then their name, then also just an image. And so those are my inputs, processes, and outputs. I hope that this helps you guys to just understand the general process of creating your own IPO table, and that'll give you guys some ideas for your own IPO tables. You can also create an IPO table in Word, but I found that in Excel it's usually just a bit easier making the actual table and being able to edit the cells and do resizing and that. But what you can do is, if you click on Acrobat, you can save it as a PDF, or you can just go and select the table and then copy it and paste it into a Word document. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and keep coding.